Good morning. We're going to be doing chapter 3 of Caroline Book 2. Chapter 3. Seth's Decision. Caroline, Rhonda, and Seth sat shivering on the shore, putting on their dry stockings and shoes. They had watched the sloop until it sailed out of sight. How are we going to get home? Rhonda asked. We'll have to walk, Seth said. Now that the first flush of excitement was past, Caroline felt tired all the way to her bones. How far were they from Sackett's Harbor? She jumped as some branches rustled nearby. Then Irish Jack appeared through the trees. A huge grin split his face. You three are the heroes of the day, he called. I got my bateau upstream as far as I could. Then I came ashore and walked back to see what the British would do. I saw how you blocked the channel. That was quick thinking. He grabbed his hat and slapped it against his leg with delight. Caroline scrambled to her feet. It's good to see you, she told him. Mama and Mr. Tate need those supplies you're carrying. We've been waiting and waiting. Irish Jack shook his head. We've had a slow trip. British captains have been sailing back and forth, ready to pounce on any American boat they can find. I've had to hide my bateau several times before this. You're sure the bateau is safe now? Caroline asked. Irish Jack ran a hand through his wild red hair, looking pleased. Sure as the sun will rise tomorrow. My crew is guiding her. When we're certain that blasted British sloop isn't prowling about, we'll slip on to Sackett's Harbor. But the channel is blocked now, Rhonda said. How will you get out? Oh, we can pass through, Irish Jack promised. Even loaded, we can pull the bateau right over the sandbar. That's good, said Rhonda. Her teeth were chattering. I've got blankets on my boat, Irish Jack said. Let's go fetch them. Once you've warmed up a bit, I'll escort you home. He turned and walked back in the direction he'd come upstream where the bateau was hidden. Seth and Rhonda followed. Caroline started to bring up the rear, but she paused to take one last look at the channel. She could see the back of the skiff where it had come to rest, with the word Sparrow above the flowing water. Caroline swallowed hard. Papa had built that skiff. It had taken her and Papa on many happy fishing trips. It had safely gotten her and Mama all the way to Kingston and back last fall. Now she would never skim over the water in it again. I lost my ship, Caroline thought. Papa had always said that a captain who had lost his ship was disgraced. What would he think of her now? Caroline's heart seemed to freeze in her chest. She felt mixed up inside, proud and ashamed, happy and sad, all at the same time. Caroline, Rhonda called. I'm coming, Caroline answered. She took one last look at the precious skiff. Finally, she forced herself to look away. Caroline plodded after Irish Jack as he walked her, Rhonda, and Seth home. The bateau captain did not accept Grandmother's offer to come inside for warm gingerbread. I need to get back to my crew, he said, but I hope you'll give these three heroes extra helpings. They did a fine thing today. One fine thing, Caroline thought, and a terrible thing, too. Once Rhonda's mother heard the story, she hurried out to fetch Mama. Grandmother found a pair of old trousers and a shirt that belonged to Caroline's cousin Oliver and gave them to Seth. Get into dry clothes, all three of you, she ordered. I'll make hot willow bark tea. It's the best thing to ward off a fever. Caroline was glad to peel off her wet dress and to pull on thick, warm stockings. Soon everyone was gathered at Abbott's kitchen except Amelia Hathaway, who was napping upstairs. A big fire blazed in the hearth, and steam rose from the mugs of tea. Caroline sat at the table with her winter cape draped over her shoulders. She let Seth and Rhonda repeat the tale of their adventure. Mercy, Mrs. Hathaway said, shaking her head. I will say a prayer of thanks tonight that none of you was hurt. She pressed her lips into a tight line as if what might have been imagining what have been. It's sad to lose this gift, Mamma declared, but look what it saved. That was sharp thinking. Normally Caroline would glow with such praise from Mamma, but she could still hear the harsh sound of splintering wood as the axe fell. She could still see the word sparrow at a crazy angle above the water, shining in the sun. Grandmother pulled a pan of gingerbread from the brick oven. She cut pieces and passed around plates. The sweet, the spicy sweet smell of warm gingerbread usually made Caroline's mouth water, but now she didn't have an appetite. The wood box is almost empty, Grandmother murmured. I'll just fetch a few more logs. Caroline jumped to her feet. I'll help, she said. She wanted a few moments alone with Grandmother, who often helped her sort through tangled feelings. She followed the old woman outside. Grandmother walked slowly, leaning on her cane. She was a small woman, with hands gnarled like tree roots and bones that often ached. Grandmother, Caroline began, when I saw Papa's skiff ruined, left behind in the creek, she stopped. It was hard to describe how she felt. Grandmother took Caroline's chin in one hand and looked her straight in the eyes. I know it's hard to lose this gift, but you did well today, she said fiercely. The British stole White Gull. That was one of the loveliest sloops your father ever built, but it's no doubt been renamed and put into the British fleet. Our enemy has stolen other ships as well, but today, thanks to you and your friends, they did not capture Irish Jack's bateau. I am proud of what we did, Caroline thought, but the ache beneath her ribs didn't go away. Caroline gathered an armload of wood, and Grandmother filled her own apron with smaller pieces. Before heading back inside, Caroline paused. I'm tired, she said, scuffing a circle in the dirt with her toe. After we take the wood in, I think I'll rest for a little while. Upstairs, Caroline's cat, Inkpot, was curled into a ball on her bed. Caroline lay down and scratched him under her chin. Oh, Inkpot, she whispered. We saved Irish Jack's bateau and supplies, but we sank Papa's skiff. It's ruined. Papa, would Papa be disappointed in her when he heard about what she'd done? Caroline had wanted so much to talk with him. If only he were here, she thought. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then, for the first time, the fear that she had pushed away for so many months washed over her. What if I never get the chance to talk to Papa again, she thought. What if he never comes home? Before Mama went back to the shipyard later that afternoon, she invited Seth to stay for supper. Thank you, ma'am. I'd like that, he said, and I'll be glad to help Caroline with chores until then. Seth and Caroline grabbed empty buckets and headed outside. When they reached the well, Seth paused. I'm sorry about this gift, Caroline, he said. I know it meant a lot to you. Caroline nodded. Papa made it. Her eyes blurred with tears. Oh, Seth, what if Papa doesn't come back? Seth hooked a bucket handle onto a rope and began lowering it into the well. Your Papa's coming back. Don't stop believing that, Caroline. And he'll understand that you had a hard choice to make when we saw that British sloop headed for the supply boat. Caroline sighed. Everything happened so fast. We had a grand victory this morning, Seth reminded her. In fact, what happened back at Hickory Creek helped me make up my mind. He hauled up a full bucket, set it on the ground, and looked at Caroline. I'm I'm joining the Navy. Caroline's eyes widened. Seth? Joining the Navy? She knew that boys even younger than Seth sometimes joined the Navy. The smallest became powder monkeys, scampering through a ship's cramped spaces to deliver ammunition during battles. Still, she'd never imagined Seth going off to fight. But perhaps I should have, she thought, remembering how he'd spoken of wanting to help drive the British back to Upper Canada. I've been thinking about it for some time, Seth said. Seeing that British sloop chasing Irish Jack's bateau this morning, well, it made me angry. I am resolved to do whatever I can to help win this war. Caroline wanted to say, no, don't go. You might get hurt, and I'll miss you too much. But she managed to swallow the words. I'm proud of you, Seth, she said instead. You'll do a fine job in the Navy. When Mamma got home from the shipyard that evening, carrying a basket of salmon she purchased for supper, Caroline and Seth were hoeing weeds in the garden. Wonderful, Mamma said. Thank you, Seth. Seth wiped his forehead, leaving a streak of dirt. You've always treated me kindly, Mrs. Abbott. Since I have no family of my own, that means a lot. You're always welcome here, Mamma assured him with a smile. Caroline looked at Seth with a silent message. Tell her your news. He nodded and told Mamma about his decision to join the Navy. I've been walking my post route for 4 years, he explained. Someone younger can take that job now. When are you leaving? Mamma asked. I'll send word to my employer, letting him know he needs to find another post walker for my route, Seth said. And I've a single day's worth of mail yet to deliver, the route closest to Sackett's Harbor. Then I'll be free to enlist. I could deliver your mail tomorrow, Caroline offered. I'd be proud to. That way you could enlist to fight with the British one day sooner. Mamma hesitated. I won't get lost, Caroline said. I know the route almost as well as Seth. She walked this part of the route with him several times, keeping him company. You'd have to get an early start, Seth told her. It'll be a long day of walking. I don't mind, Caroline insisted. Please, Mamma, I want to help. Mamma considered. Very well, she said at last. You're 10 now, old enough to take on that responsibility. Caroline nodded. First thing in the morning, she'd be ready to go. And that is chapter 3.